Welcome to the next video in this mini series of DIY wedding flowers. I'm going to show you how to create a country style table arrangement. I've incorporated the flowers I used in the tied bouquet. I've arranged my flowers in flower foam in a raised glass dish. I like lifting my arrangements up a bit. It just gives them a bit of height and a bit more elegance. It looks fabulous, doesn't it? I can't wait to see your own table arrangements. For your table arrangement, you're going to need a dish to arrange your flowers in. I'm going to be using this footed glass bowl. It's just raised up a little bit. You'll need about 1/3 of a block of flower foam. This is actually a 2/3 block. I've already used some from the other end, so we need to slice that in half. I do that using an old table knife. You'll need a pair of scissors and some anchor tape to hold your foam in place. You'll also need a selection of greenery and then your flowers. I've got dahlias, which will make a great focal flower, very eye-catching. Some alstroemeria, a middle-sized flower, and then some smaller flowers, the very delicate fennel and blue eryngium thistles. The choice is up to you. You'll also need a bucket of water to soak your flower foam in. Actually, I'm using an old washing up bowl. The first thing to do is to cut your flower foam using the guidelines. I only ever soak what I'm going to use and then put the dry foam away for another time. Now you'll notice that my foam is brown. That's because it's a biodegradable flower foam. Usually flower foam for fresh flowers is green, and there's a very gritty flower foam, a grey-brown, and that's for dried or silk flowers. So do make sure you're buying the correct flower foam. I filled up my washing up bowl from my cold water tap. The next job is to just float the flower foam on the surface of your water, and as you take away your hand, it will slowly take up water and sink. This only takes a few moments. You'll see it slowly sinking, and eventually you'll see the water chasing towards the centre of the foam. There it goes. And when that last bit of dry foam disappears, you'll know that your flower foam is soaked all the way through. When you lift your foam out of the water, it's quite heavy, and of course you'll be dripping water. So always make sure you've got your container close to hand. Now you'll see here I've got my square block of foam, but my dish is slightly rounded, and to get my foam to fit more securely, I'm going to have to go in and just slice off the corners of my foam. I don't want it rocking around. Just taking up a small section. That's a much better fit, much more secure. I like to take the corners off my foam as well at the top. This is optional, it doesn't matter if you forget. And then I need to secure the foam into my dish. I'm going to take 2 pieces of my pot tape, and that will really hold everything in place. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Put it nice and firmly, it just cuts into the top of the surface of the foam. Ideally, you don't want these pieces too long because you don't want to see them, but they have got to do their job of fixing your foam in place. So when you come to add your greenery, you need to concentrate on covering up these lines of tape. I put my dish on a turntable just so I can show you all sides of what I'm working on. You don't need a turntable if you're working at home, but you will need to, from time to time, turn your dish around so you can see what you're doing. I'm starting off with my flower foam running top to bottom. It's a rectangular piece. It's entirely up to you what you do. You might prefer it that way round, but I just like the order of having my foam that way, and it guides me as to where to put my greenery in. The arrangement I'm going to make is going to follow the edge of the dish and be quite small. You don't want to go too big, otherwise it won't fit on your tables. As a rule of thumb, I like to cut my greenery about as long as my finger, but you need to measure it out against your container and then cut pieces to size. I've cut my stem at a diagonal angle, which makes it easier to push into the flower foam. And once you're happy with that, measure up your next piece against it and recut. I'm probably going to get 3 pieces out of this one stem. That went in at the bottom, so I'm going to put this one in at the top. This one off to the side. So I've got 4 pieces of greenery in, north, south, west, east. Next I'm going to fill in these gaps, the diagonal corners. In one side and diagonally opposite. In one side and diagonally opposite. You notice how the leaves are draping over the edge of the containers. I'm going to put one piece in the middle, and my arrangement won't be any higher than that. I've got a circle of green at the bottom, one piece at the top. I need to put a few pieces in at a 45-degree angle. One at the back, one at the front, at the side, and the other side. And there's the first placement of greenery, just a bit of a green blob at the moment. I'm then going to do pretty much exactly the same thing, using different greenery for a bit of contrast. So here with the dark ridged leaves, I've got something slightly brighter and more leathery looking in texture. I'm going to cut off this leaf, it's a little bit damaged. So you can see how quickly it begins to fill out. I haven't put quite so much of the second greenery in there. I want to leave space for my flowers and some of my finer leaved foliage. This willow will be a great contrast, slightly grey in colour with a much finer leaf. I've cut it down into finger length sections and just need to remember to take off the bottom leaves, so it's the clean stem that's going into the flower foam, holding it like a dart, gently adding it in wherever I see a gap. I'm going to go around the bottom of my arrangement first and then work my way towards the middle. Bottom edge complete. Come up a bit. So I've got 3 lots of greenery added in. You can see how it's draping over the edge of the bowl, so my tape is hidden. And it's adding lots of lovely visual interest and a bit of natural movement. You'll see some gaps. You can go back and fill those in later. You don't want to overfill your dish, otherwise you'll never get your flowers in. Once you're happy with your greenery, now you can start to add in your flowers. I like to add in my focal flower first. So this is going to be my eye-catching dahlia. You need to work out how long to cut it. I'm going to shuffle my dish to the edge of the table, decide where I want it to sit, probably just near this leaf, and then from there work out where to cut it. And aim right for the centre. I'm going to position 3 flowers in a rough triangular form around the edge of the container. So I've got more dahlias for this. Recut the stems, imagining where you want it to sit. Adding the flowers in. And putting it down quite low so you can see it. And then imagining where to put the next flowers in. They need to be either side of a centre line, from that flower to the middle flower to an imaginary flower at this side. Measure up. And the same thing on the last side. So with those 3 flowers around the edge, my arrangement doesn't look like it's being made in a block of rectangular foam anymore. It's starting to take on a pleasing rounded shape. I've then got some gaps in between the dahlias, and I'm going to think about filling those next. I've got some alstroemeria that I've already cut down short. Recut the stems. One. Two. And 3. I'm going to add in my little white sprays of flowers next, and that'll really help fill out the arrangement. Okay. Recut, take off any green leaves. You want the clean stems to go into the arrangement. I'm going to start off by putting this one off to one side. So wherever I see an alstroemeria, I'm going to add in a bit of green, a bit of the spray. And then on the other side of the alstroemeria, put some of the other white spray flower. Cut to length, take off the leaves and add them in. You're just working methodically round. So this is the arrangement so far. If I turn it around, it looks pretty much the same on all sides. Can you spot the main flower at the top? and then the 3 dahlias around the edge. And then I filled in between each pair of dahlias with an alstroemeria and my 2 white sprays. Now you could stop here and leave your table arrangement as a classic green and white combination. I'm going to add in some purples as I use those in my wedding bouquet. So I've got the larkspur, some alliums and some small eryngiums, the blue thistles. So taking my spike of larkspur first, measure up and cut it down. I think I'm going to cut those down a tiny bit shorter so they don't stick out so much. I only had 3 spikes of the larkspur, so I've put them in at equal thirds going around the arrangement. I've got 3 alliums as well, so now I'll add those in. Think about where they're going to go and then cut them down to size. As I put my larkspur up high, I'm going to add my purple allium a little bit lower. I've got quite a lot of the eryngium, and as it's quite a small flower, I'm going to dust it like fairy dust around the top of the arrangement. When I see a space, I'll add some in. Putting some stems close to the top and others a bit lower down. And cutting my stems down, I can get 1, 2, 3 placements out of that 1 stem. So again, I've worked methodically, starting here and working my way around the arrangement so it looks similar from every angle. And just for a bit of colour contrast, I'm going to add in some of the fragrant fennel. I'll cut each stem down to about a finger length and add it in. Some near the centre of the arrangement and some flowing off to the side. I've got a tiny bit of asparagus fern left over from the bouquet, and I might put a few stems of that again to provide a visual length so that everything runs together in harmony. And then one last look round to make sure there aren't any gaps. You may find you need to put a little bit of more greenery right down low if you can see any of your flower foam. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget, if you've got any questions at all, you're always welcome to answer them in my free Facebook group called Flower Start World. Or you could tag me on Instagram. I'm at Flower Start with an underscore at the end, and use the hashtag Flower Start. That's all from me for now, and I will see you in the next video.